Hey there, my friend. Pull up a chair. I want to talk to you about something I've felt for years, like a low hum beneath the floorboards of the world. Have you ever felt it too? A kind of understanding that doesn't come from books or lectures, but from a deep, quiet place inside. It's a form of intelligence that they don't give out awards for, but believe me, you can feel its shiver in the most powerful rooms. To me, it feels like a sacred whisper trying to be heard over a screaming world, a hidden pattern that only a few of us are tuned into. For the longest time, I thought there was something wrong with me for seeing it. It's not about being a genius with numbers, it's about understanding the shadows, the pauses, the things left unsaid. It's like learning the secret rules to a game everyone else is playing blind. And let me tell you, once you start vibrating on that frequency, your whole world changes. It's no accident you're hearing this right now. I believe your soul has been calling out for this, for someone to finally put words to the unique way you experience life. If what I'm saying makes your hair stand on end, just a little, do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe so we can continue this journey together, and just drop a simple, "I'm not alone" or 777 in the comments. I want to know you're out there. Because you and we're about to unlock a power within you that's been asleep for far too long, just waiting for a gentle nudge to awaken. You see, this path, this journey into what I call dark intelligence, it's a solitary one. You won't find a course for it at the local community college. Honestly, the systems of our world, from schools to workplaces, are mostly designed to sand down our sharp edges, to make us all fit into neat, predictable boxes. They're brilliant at teaching us what to think, but they stumble when it comes to teaching us how to truly see. This profound knowing isn't something that can be taught like algebra. It has to be awakened from within. It's a force that's already a part of your divine blueprint, a sleeping giant you have to find and rouse yourself. And when you do, when you start to feel that steady, powerful pulse inside you, something incredible happens. Other people feel it too. They won't have the words for it. They won't understand where this new gravity in your presence comes from, but they will feel that undeniable shift. It's a power that has no need for a grand entrance. It doesn't crave the roar of the crowd or a standing ovation. It's a silent sovereign. It does its most profound work in the quiet moments, in the pregnant pauses of a conversation, in the deep shadows where people's true intentions are laid bare. It doesn't move with the clumsy crash of brute force. No, it moves with the quiet, invisible, and surgically precise grace of a grandmaster, gently rearranging the pieces on the chessboard while everyone else is still distracted by the flashy moves. I know you've seen this person before. We all have. I remember being at this stuffy corporate event years ago. The air was thick with cheap cologne and forced laughter. In the corner, there was this older gentleman, not saying a word. The CEO was holding court, loud and boisterous, but everyone's attention kept drifting back to this quiet man. He never raised his voice, but with a single, measured look, a slight tilt of his head, he could shift the entire energy of a conversation across the room. His stillness was a declaration, a silent force that made everyone else seem flimsy. Or what about that woman I used to know in politics? She could walk into a room full of sharks and, with nothing but a serene smile, navigate the most treacherous social currents. To the untrained eye, she was just being polite. But I watched her. I saw how she used that politeness as a flawless shield, a perfect camouflage for the intricate web of influence she was weaving. While everyone else was getting tangled in loud, emotional drama, she was pulling strings no one else even knew existed. She orchestrated outcomes with a grace that was, frankly, as beautiful as it was terrifying. These people, they aren't just good with people. What I saw in them was an expression of a much deeper, more formidable intelligence. They understand that words are currency, and they don't spend them carelessly. But when they do choose to speak, the world around them holds its breath, and people listen, not because of volume, but because every single word is a finely crafted tool, perfectly calibrated and aimed with devastating accuracy. This, my friend, is the heart of dark intelligence. Once you truly let that sink in, once you start to integrate that quiet power into your own being, you'll find it's impossible to ever go back to seeing the world through naive eyes. You'll understand that a mind like this doesn't react to the world's chaos. It observes it. It doesn't beg for a seat at the table. It strategically positions itself so the table eventually comes to it. It doesn't fight the noisy battles everyone else is consumed by. It ends them quietly, often before they've even had a chance to begin. I remember reading Machiavelli back in college, and while everyone else was focused on the whole ends justify the means part, something else stuck with me. He didn't admire the flashy, brilliant intellect that could win a debate. He admired the dangerous intellect, the kind that could dominate without ever being seen, the kind that could shape reality from the shadows. That resonated with a feeling I'd had my whole life, this sense of being different, not softer or more fragile, but sharper, more perceptive. If you've ever felt that, like your senses are tuned to a finer station than everyone else's, then what you're hearing now isn't just a story, it's a divine confirmation. This is your key. And when you use it to unlock that part of yourself, the mundane, ordinary world you thought you knew will just fade away. You'll step into a new reality, my friend. A reality where you're no longer just a piece being moved around the board. You're a player who finally understands the game itself. You have to understand, they will never, ever tell you about this kind of power. You won't find it in any textbook. You won't see it on the cover of a self-help bestseller. And you certainly won't hear it discussed in the polite, shallow chatter of society. And why is that? It's simple. Because this knowledge is true power. If everyone understood how dark intelligence really works, the fragile structures of control they've built would start to shake. They would feel a primal fear of you long before you ever had to raise a hand, because they would recognize in your quiet stillness a force more potent than all their noise. Your journey into this awakening doesn't start with cramming your head full of new information. No, it begins much more subtly. It begins by noticing, by paying attention to the truths that have been dancing in front of your eyes all along. It all starts with a fundamental shift in your perception. For me, it began with silence. Not a shy, withdrawn silence, but a deep, powerful, observant stillness. I started listening more than I spoke, and I mean really listening. I listened with an intensity that most people just mistook for passivity. But I wasn't being passive at all. I was becoming a divine detective of the human soul. I started listening for the subtle frequencies humming beneath their words. I'd let a conversation linger long enough to hear the tiny, almost imperceptible cracks in their perfectly rehearsed stories. I could feel the slight tremor of insecurity hiding in a boastful voice, the unspoken ache of desperation behind a casual request. I'd find myself smiling at jokes that weren't remotely funny, not to be polite, but because I was watching the room. I was mapping the social landscape, taking notes. Who was starving for approval? Who was using aggression to mask a deep-seated fear? Who, in this room full of noise, was actually in control? I wasn't becoming cold, not exactly, but I was getting there. I was learning to detach my own state from the emotional chaos that seems to govern almost everyone else. And as I watched, I started to see that the world, for the most part, runs on a kind of beautiful, tragic madness. I saw people waging bitter wars over things that had no real value: titles, status, the last word in an argument. I watched them defend obvious lies with a ferocity that was breathtaking, all to protect their fragile egos. I saw them puff up their chests and speak with booming voices at the very moments they were the most terrified, pretending to be unbreakably strong when, inside, they were crumbling into dust. And as I watched all of this, with this new, quiet clarity, a pattern started to emerge from the static. Slowly, like a photograph developing in a dark room, I began to see the code behind the chaos. I started to understand the hidden operating system of human nature. And this entire awakening, this profound shift, it all came down to one simple, unshakable truth. People are utterly and completely predictable when they think they are safe. The moment they feel secure, their guard drops, their mask slips, and their true motivations begin to leak from every word, every gesture. And that, my friend, that is the exact moment you slip in. Silently, invisibly. You start to learn the art of asking the right questions. Your goal isn't to get a straight answer. It's to create an opening for them to reveal what they're trying to hide, often even from themselves. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is offer them your silence, a profound, unnerving stillness that they feel an overwhelming urge to fill, and they will fill it. They'll pour their anxieties, their confessions, their weaknesses, right into that space you've created. Their discomfort becomes your data. You let their own emotions write their confessions for them. And the whole time, because you're calm, because you're quiet, they see you as harmless. They have absolutely no idea that you are meticulously collecting information, mapping their psychological terrain, and pinpointing their deepest pressure points. This is the true art of dark intelligence. It doesn't need a stage or a megaphone. It operates in stillness. It thrives in the quiet spaces where others feel far too comfortable to guard themselves. And as you begin to master this, something deep within you starts to shift. Slowly, your mind begins to change. You stop seeing people as the masks they wear. You start seeing the intricate machinery working behind those masks. You don't just see a person. You see their utility, their weaknesses, their potential for leverage, and the risks they carry. You can spot the liar before they even part their lips to speak. You can feel the insecure soul cowering behind the most extravagant displays of confidence. You recognize the traitor long before the thought of betrayal has even fully formed in their mind. In this intricate dance of human interaction, you suddenly find yourself 5 seconds faster than everyone else. You're 5 steps ahead. How? Because your mind is no longer a chaotic vessel for reactive emotion. It has been forged into a tactical weapon. This, right here, is the crucial turning point. This is the moment of your true awakening. It isn't about getting smarter by reading more books. It's about the moment you finally, irrevocably, stop being naive. You begin to grasp a profound and, let's be honest, often disturbing truth. What is objectively real doesn't matter nearly as much as what people believe is real. You understand that trust is not some sacred, unbreakable bond. It's a tool, a lever. You see with a painful clarity that most people are living in a constant state of self-deception, lying not just to you, but to themselves, every single day. And if you can learn to understand and navigate their illusions, you can guide them. This is the absolute pinnacle of dark intelligence. It has nothing to do with your IQ score, your charisma, or how hard you work. It is, in its purest form, control through perception. Your words are no longer just for communication, they become weapons. Every phrase is measured, every sentence is intentional, nothing is ever wasted. You learn to drop truths like tiny, untraceable doses of poison, slow, subtle, and irreversible. You stop defending yourself, because you no longer derive your worth from external validation. You stop explaining your decisions, because you are no longer seeking anyone's approval. You stop reacting to disrespect, because you now have 1,000 silent ways to make someone regret their actions, without ever raising your voice. You're not playing their game anymore. You are subtly bending the rules of the game to fit your own design. You learn to never show your full mind. You don't broadcast your ultimate goals. You never let people know when they've truly hurt you, because in this new world you inhabit, pain is no longer a wound to be nursed. It is simply more data to be analyzed. You are becoming someone else. Not cold, not cruel, but strategic. This is that silent metamorphosis that I believe a mind like Machiavelli's truly admired. It's the moment a person stops trying to force themselves to fit into a broken world and starts quietly reshaping the world around them. And the most beautiful part, no one knows it's happening until it's far, far too late. To them, you're still the same old you. They still think you're harmless, maybe a little innocent, just the quiet one in the corner. They have no idea they are already caught in a net you've been patiently weaving for months, maybe even years. At this point, my friend, you don't need to seek power. You have become power. This is how dark intelligence is truly born. It doesn't arrive in a blinding flash of genius. It's forged in long, quiet hours of watching, of understanding, of patiently building a mind so dangerous, so potent, that it never needs to announce its own arrival. So, welcome. Welcome to the new version of you. The version that no longer chases anything, because now, everything comes to you, and no one will ever see it coming. You've crossed a threshold, my friend. You can feel it, can't you? That old world, the one filled with reactive emotions, and that constant, nagging need for other people's approval. It's behind you now. You've stopped trying to be liked. You've started listening more than you speak. And as a result, you're not just intelligent in the way the world measures it anymore. You're becoming dangerous. Now, what does that really mean? It means you've started to develop certain traits, certain ways of being, that normal people instinctively fear, even if they can't quite put their finger on why. Let me walk you through the 5 core traits of the dangerously intelligent. Each one is silent, each one is lethal. The first trait is emotional disconnection. I've noticed that the first thing people sense about someone operating on this level is their unnerving calm. You just don't react the way they expect you to. Insults, praise, pressure, it all seems to land on you like water on a stone, leaving you unmoved. This isn't because you're emotionless, far from it. It's because you are no longer controlled by your emotions. You've disconnected from the puppet strings of reaction. You don't suppress your feelings. That's a fool's game. Instead, you learn to study them. You watch your anger rise, and it becomes pure analysis. You observe your sadness, and it transforms into strategy. You feel your fear, and it sharpens into foresight. You stop letting your emotions dictate your actions. Instead, you use them as a divine compass, letting them reveal the emotional weaknesses and triggers in others. While they are screaming and panicking, caught in the storm of their feelings, you are sitting in the calm eye of the hurricane, calculating. And that silence, my friend, is not emptiness. It is the sound of a mind sharpening its blade. The second trait is surgical observation. You've graduated from simply looking at people. Now you dissect them. You watch their hands when they talk, noticing the slightest clench of a fist. You watch their eyes when they lie, seeing the micro flicker of avoidance. You listen to the subtle shift in their tone when they want something from you. You've learned to hear the entire conversation that's happening beneath the one they're having out loud. You feel that almost imperceptible shift in the room's energy when someone is hiding something. You don't need them to confess their secrets to you. You already know. This is a trait that can make people profoundly uncomfortable because they feel truly seen around you, perhaps for the first time in their lives, and that raw exposure terrifies them. Because deep down, in the places they don't show anyone, they know that you can sense their weakness. I think of what Machiavelli said, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. You understand this on a gut level. You don't just hope people will be loyal, you expect betrayal, so you watch for its subtle signs long before it ever has a chance to manifest. The third is controlled presence. When you walk into a room, you no longer feel the need to speak to be noticed. Your very presence becomes intentional. Your silence, you'll find, can be louder and more commanding than anyone else's shouting. Why? Because you're no longer trying to be interesting. You're trying to be unreadable. The dangerously intelligent have an innate understanding of the immense power of mystery. You learn to reveal just enough to pique their curiosity, to make them lean in, but never enough for them to feel like they can predict you. People have a natural fear of what they don't understand, and you learn to give them just enough uncertainty to keep them cautious, to keep them respectful. I learned this years ago. True power doesn't come from being everywhere at once, shouting for attention. It comes from being so impactful that you are deeply missed the moment you are not there. You become a rare commodity, and in this world, my friend, rarity is power. Fourth, there's strategic speech. You've noticed it, haven't you? Most people just talk to fill the silence. It's nervous energy. You, on the other hand, learn to speak to plant ideas. Every word becomes a move on the chessboard. Every sentence is a signal flare. You start using your pauses, your tone, and your questions like finely honed weapons. You stop trying to convince people with arguments. Instead, you lead them to convince themselves. You speak with a kind of surgical precision, designed to distract, to unsettle, and ultimately to influence. You know exactly when a compliment will disarm someone, and you know when saying absolutely nothing will have a greater impact than any argument ever could. This is what makes you so dangerous in conversation. Once you decide to speak, the entire dynamic of the conversation begins to bend in your favor, not because you forced it, but because of your invisible persuasion. And the fifth, and most important trait is unshakable self-reliance. This is the one. This is the trait that breaks most people, but it's the very thing that forges the dangerously intelligent. You no longer need anyone. You don't need their praise. You don't need their recognition. You don't even need them to understand you. You've become your own source of validation. And when a person has nothing left to prove to the outside world, they become untouchable. Think about it. People try to control each other through guilt, through shame, through a sense of obligation. But none of those hooks work on you anymore. It's because you've buried that old version of yourself, the one who begged for clarity, for loyalty, for affection. Now, you move like a ghost. You appear when it's strategic, and you vanish when it's time to let your absence be felt. This makes you more powerful than any title, any position, any weapon. Because, as the old saying goes, the man who needs nothing cannot be manipulated by anything. These 5 traits, they don't make you human in the way society expects. They make you an anomaly, a force of quiet nature in a world of constant noise. And people might not be able to explain why, but you make them uneasy. That, my friend, is dark intelligence. And you have only just begun. But listen, dark intelligence means absolutely nothing if it isn't applied. It's like having a sword you never draw. Power without action is just a secret you're keeping from yourself. So now, we move from observation to execution. You've developed the traits. You've sharpened the blade. Now, it's time to use the weapon. And I'm going to tell you how you can use this dark intelligence in plain sight, every single day, without ever being detected. First, learn to control conversations without ever dominating them. Most people, when they talk, they're trying to win. It's a battle of egos. But you speak to guide. Let other people talk. Encourage it. Let them expose themselves, their desires, their fears. Your goal isn't to impress them with your own brilliance, it's to extract data. You learn to ask questions that seem innocent on the surface, but are designed to slice right into their mind. Simple things like, "That's interesting. Why do you think that?" Or, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "And what happened right after that?" These questions feel like genuine interest, so they lower their defenses. They feel seen. But what you're really doing, my friend, is locating the leverage points. Then, when the time is right, you say just enough, a carefully chosen phrase, to shift their thinking. Never enough to reveal your own full hand. You're no longer just in the conversation, you're controlling it from the inside. Second, you must master the use of silence as pressure. Most people are terrified of silence. They can't handle it. They rush to fill the void with nervous chatter, with explanations, justifications, apologies. But you learn to weaponize that silence. Imagine someone is trying to manipulate you with a passive-aggressive comment. Instead of reacting, you say nothing. You just hold their gaze. Let them sit in the discomfort they created. They expect you to resist, to argue. When you give them nothing but calm, powerful stillness, it feels like an immense show of strength, because it is. When you're in a negotiation, pause just a little too long before you speak. When someone is telling you a story, hold their gaze for a moment longer than is comfortable after they finish. Let them feel the full weight of being seen. That discomfort you create, that is control. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't have to. They felt your presence without a single sound. Third, mirror their emotions and then redirect them. This is a subtle art. If someone comes to you boiling with anger, you don't meet them with calm opposition. You match their energy just for a moment. I can see you're furious about this. If they're insecure, you act a little unsure yourself. If they're full of pride, you play the humble student. You create an instant, subconscious rapport. Then, once you have them, you turn the mirror around. You twist their own emotions to guide them where you want them to go. You can redirect their anger toward a common enemy or a third party. You can soothe their insecurity with a false compliment that subtly ties them to your own goal. You can stroke their pride with flattery to gently position them exactly where you need them to be. This is how true manipulation works without force. You're not pushing people. You're letting them walk exactly where you want them to go, and they'll be convinced it was their own brilliant idea all along. 4. You reveal your intentions only after you have won. Never, ever announce your plans. Never explain your motives. Let people misunderstand you. Let them misjudge you. Let them underestimate you. Then, when the outcome is secured, when it favors you completely, you can reveal the truth, quietly, coldly. They will realize, far too late, that they were a part of your strategy all along. And believe me, there is nothing that haunts a person more than the slow, dawning realization that they helped to build their own defeat. That is real power. That is dark intelligence at work. Fifth, and this is critical, you never use your power emotionally. This is the trap where almost everyone else fails. They get emotional. They punish someone to make themselves feel better. They attack someone to prove a point. You, however, act with cold, calculated intention. If you need to remove someone from your life or your path, you do it cleanly. There's no shouting, no public spectacle, no messy emotional debris, just a quiet exile, a door closed without a warning. If someone crosses you, you never react in the moment. You wait. You gather information, and you strike at the precise moment it benefits you, not your ego. Your responses should feel like the universe itself is calmly correcting a mistake, not like you're holding a grudge. And finally, number 6, hide your depth. Never show your full mind. People might respect intelligence, but they fear what they don't understand. So you learn to give them only about 60%, just enough to seem sharp, but never enough for them to map out your strategy. If they think they understand you, they'll feel safe. And when people feel safe, they get sloppy. And that is exactly when you make your moves. The smartest move you can ever make is to let them think they're smarter than you. Let them walk, with full confidence, right into the trap that you built with their unknowing help. You see, you don't need a throne to rule. You don't need status to win. Dark intelligence is silent domination. It is the power to move people, to influence outcomes, and to control your environment without ever being seen as the source. That's what Machiavelli really meant when he praised the fox over the lion. Anyone can roar, but the fox wins because it knows exactly where to step and who to bite when no one is watching. By now, your mind isn't just sharp, my friend. It's weaponized, and they will never know it until it's too late. The most dangerous arena in this world isn't a battlefield, and it isn't a political stage. It's in our relationships. This is where most people completely lose themselves. It's where they trade clear, hard logic for the intoxicating chaos of emotion. It's where they beg and explain and surrender all of their personal power in the name of love or loyalty or guilt. But when you begin to operate with dark intelligence, your relationships no longer feel like emotional traps. They become power structures. You see each one as a unique battlefield where control is either consciously claimed or unconsciously lost. You start to see the game with crystal clarity. Every conversation becomes a subtle negotiation. Every compliment, a possible bribe. Every moment of silence, a signal. You see, most people reveal their intentions far too early. They have this deep, desperate need to be liked, to be understood. So they give it all away, their fears, their pain, their entire history, all in the hope of being accepted. You, however, you learn to stay quiet. Not because you're cold, but because you're calculating. You let others talk first. Let them expose their patterns, their desires, their triggers. You let them wrap the rope around themselves, never realizing that you're the one who handed it to them. You don't reveal your past. You don't explain your standards. You don't rush to correct their misunderstandings of you. Because you understand that the less they truly know, the less ammunition they have to use against you. And yet, you know everything about them. They don't realize how much they're giving away with every word they speak. You pick up on the deep insecurity hiding behind their sarcasm, the profound weakness camouflaged by their confidence, the hidden, selfish motive lurking behind their kindest gestures. And when people try to test you, you don't resist. You don't fight back. You simply vanish. Because in your world, my friend, disrespect isn't confronted. It's disqualified. You understand what most people never will. Your silence is infinitely more frightening than your anger. They expect an argument. They brace for an emotional reaction. But when you simply disappear instead, They are left alone with their own actions. They start to reflect. They start to panic. They start to see you not as someone they could control, but as someone they lost. This is the incredible power of emotional distance. It makes you rare. It makes you untouchable. Soon, you'll notice that people begin to adjust their behavior around you. Not because you demanded it, but because they can feel your unspoken standards. They sense that you're different. You're not trying to be liked. You're not trying to fix them. You're not available in the same desperate way that others are. And that mystery, that quiet strength, it turns into control. A control not gained through fear, or even through love, but through a silent, unspoken understanding that you are not someone they can manipulate. People will learn that their affection won't buy them access to your core. They'll learn that their loyalty without a strategy is meaningless to you. They'll learn that being in your proximity is a privilege that you can, and will, revoke at any time. You don't punish with words. You punish with absence. And there is nothing that haunts a manipulator more than being completely ignored by the one person they couldn't control. This kind of intelligence doesn't make you heartless. It makes you precise. You no longer form emotional attachments by default. You consciously choose who gets to see you, and even then, you never, ever let them see all of you. This is what separates you from everyone else. They run desperately toward validation. You run calmly toward clarity. They offer their love to avoid the pain of being alone. You offer your silence to reveal their desperation. They demand answers from you. You offer them stillness. And that stillness becomes terrifying to them, because it means you saw right through them and decided they weren't even worth responding to. By now, you don't chase apologies. You don't argue for your own value. You don't repeat your expectations. You simply disappear the moment the energy turns false, and you leave those left behind, forced to ask themselves why. That is the moment their regret begins. You never raised your voice. You never explained yourself, but your absence said everything. This is how you win true power in your relationships. Not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. You don't need their affection. You don't need their approval. You don't even need them to understand you, because you've built something far more powerful inside, a presence that cannot be controlled, and a mind that no one dares play games with. And that, my friend, is how you learn to dominate in silence. By now, something inside you has fundamentally changed. You can feel it, can't you? You don't react the way you used to. You don't feel that compulsive need to explain, to argue, or to overextend yourself for others. You've become still, but you're not passive. You've become quiet, but you are not weak. That's the beautiful, terrifying thing about dark intelligence. It refines you. It turns you into a weapon that doesn't even need to be drawn to be effective. You can walk into a room and say absolutely nothing, and yet every eye will turn. Not because you have charm, not because of some flashy performance, but because you carry a presence that feels unpredictable and untouchable. You have no need to dominate, because you've already outgrown their game. In fact, people will almost always underestimate you, and that has become your favorite part of the game. You've learned how to wear masks when they are needed, how to speak in layers of meaning, and how to leave no fingerprints behind your influence. You've become unreadable, unshakable, unstoppable. This is the final form of this awakening. You are not a loud genius. You are not a public mastermind. You are a ghost in the system, silently moving the pieces on the board while everyone else is still begging to understand the rules. You no longer seek revenge. You simply erase people from your reality. You don't need to win arguments anymore. You win outcomes, because you understand that real power is never shown, it's felt. And you, my friend, you've become the kind of person who doesn't need to be seen to be feared. The kind of person who doesn't chase, but attracts. The kind of person who doesn't react, but designs. The kind of person who doesn't break, but watches with calm detachment as others collapse under the weight of your silence. You've stopped playing their game, and you have started creating your own. That's what happens when intelligence turns cold. When observation becomes prediction. When emotion is no longer your master, but your most valuable tool. This isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being smarter than the system itself. Machiavelli, he would have said, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. But I've learned that dark intelligence gives you a third, more powerful path. Control without either. They don't need to love you. They don't need to fear you. They just need to know, on a deep, instinctual level, that you are watching. Silently, carefully, permanently. And now, if you've made it this far with me, you're not just curious anymore. You're ready. Ready to stop being predictable. Ready to stop being manipulated. Ready to become dangerously intelligent. So here's your next move. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's step even deeper into this world where power is silent and intelligence is lethal. Because trust me, this is just the beginning.